Hi, and thanks for stopping by. My name's FM Jellico, and this is episode 1 of my FM21 beta save, The Red Devils Rising, featuring one FC Kaiserslautern. So, why Kaiserslautern? Well, I used to live there. My dad was in the Air Force when I was growing up, and in the mid-'80s, we were stationed in England at, he was stationed at Mildenhall. We lived near Lakenheath, and, we lived in Newmarket, actually, and then we got orders to report to Kaiserslautern, and I lived there for 3.5 years. It was the mid-'80s. There was still a wall in Berlin. There was still in East Germany. There was still the Russian Bear. But we lived in Kaiserslautern, and I must have seen probably 8 or 10 games there at Fritz-Walter Stadium. It's a team with a lot of history. It's a team that is one of the most successful in the Bundesliga, but it's a team that's also fallen on some hard times lately. Some of it's their fault. Some of it was stuff outside of their control. I'm actually going to link down below to a video that explains kind of the fall of Kaiserslautern and how they ended up where they are today. But the goal of this save is to get them to the top of the Bundesliga. And if not to the top, at least to respectability. Maybe try and win a Pokal on the way. European football, that'd be nice, but I'm not going to try and go out of my way to win it. I'm anticipating this save to go 5 to 7 years in game time, and then coming to the new year, I will switch over to my journeyman save, work permitting. A lot of news on that front. All of it's good, at least from a news point of view, but from a hobby point of view, it is just... I got that free block of time between 2 and 4 a.m. I suppose I could get a decent amount done there. So, anyhow, one FC Kaiserslautern is in Kaiserslautern, which is in the Saar region of Germany. At one point in time, it was French, and then it was German, and then it was French again, and then it was German. But anyhow, the team was formed before World War II. After World War II, the Saarland region was administered by France. It was kind of out there. It had its own World Cup team in that. When it rejoined West Germany in the early 50s, the West German national team, 9 of 11 players came from FC Kaiserslautern, including Fritz Walter, the captain, who was an absolute icon in this town. The stadium is named after him. He was the captain of the 1954 team that won the World Cup. Brilliant, brilliant player back in the day, and just revered. The stadium itself is interesting. It was built in 1920. You can see that down here. It's about 50,000. When I was there, it was a little bit smaller. They spent some money in the early 2000s for the World Cup to expand it. It's one of the many reasons they've kind of ended up where they are today. But one of the things I love about it is you're really close to the field. At least that's how it seemed. And it's kind of... what's the word I'm looking for? It's steep. At least that's how it seemed to me 35 years ago. And then you have the infamous West Curve. I'd pronounce it with a German accent, but my German accent is horrible. My real last name is German. My family emigrated. My dad's side of the family emigrated from Germany in the 1800s. But as most people who lived over there would probably discover, most Germans speak better English than we do. It's just a thing. That said, the West Curve is renowned for being just organized bedlam. The Ultras are an absolute... well, they're among the better Ultras in world football, I would imagine, and they've influenced matches in a lot of ways. There's a famous one. The most famous example is probably happened in the 80s, believe it or not. Bayern. They were playing Bayern. They were up. Bayern was up by 4-1 with 58 minutes left, and they were defending in the West Curve area of the stadium, and the fans just went absolutely mental on their defenders. Bayern ended up losing the game 7-4. It was absolutely amazing. It was huge news. One of the other things that's unique to Kaiserslautern, they won back-to-back league championships in the 90s. They got promoted from the second Bundesliga to the first Bundesliga by winning the second Bundesliga outright. And then next year, they finished first in the Bundesliga. There were a lot of other things that kind of happened that helped that happen. Bayern and a couple of other teams that were really good at the time had some issues they were dealing with in terms of injuries and whatnot. But Kaiserslautern had to do a lot of things in order to win, and they did. And so far, at least in the history of the Bundesliga, they remain the only team to win back-to-back championships. That includes the Bundesliga. So, but as you can see here, this is when they really kind of started falling down. This was after the 2006 World Cup. They went down back in the second Bundesliga. They came back up. They went back down again. The past couple of seasons, they've had financial issues. They've had coaching issues. There's been a lot of stability issues more than anything else. They got relegated to third Bundesliga a couple years ago, and it's frankly, there's not a lot of TV revenue in the league. There's not a lot of income in the league in terms of advertising and whatnot. So you have to make the most of what you got. So far, we've been doing that. The club vision is pretty straightforward. Work within the payroll budget. Top half of third Liga. Reach the second round minimum of the Pokal. We're on our way to that. Gain automatic promotion to Bundesliga 2 at the end of the 2021-22 season next year. Remain in Bundesliga 2. Become an established Bundesliga 2 team. By 2025, they want us in the second half, or the top half of the Bundesliga, which is eminently doable. Finance-wise, we're doing okay. 6 million euros in the bank. We're losing money. That's just because we don't have a lot coming in terms of TV revenue or anything like that. As a matter of fact, if we check the third Liga rules, there's nothing for, I'm not seeing anything about, oh, hey, you win, you get X thousand euros if you win sort of thing. Top two teams are promoted to Bundesliga 2. Third place team plays the next to last place team and two Bundesliga in the playoff. Bottom four teams get relegated to regional divisions. If that happens, the save ends because the regional divisions aren't loaded. They're not part of the base game. Get promoted to Bundesliga 2. If we look at the rules in Bundesliga 2, yeah, prize money, 17.64 million euros. Did I miss that in 3 Bundesliga? Yeah, there's no prize money or anything like that. The one additional rule is that Bayern 2, this is the league that Bayern plays in, if they finish in any of the top 3 spots, they're ineligible for promotion. So they get the slots move down essentially. That's pretty straightforward. So we are a couple of months into the save. Well, we're just past the close of the transfer window. So there weren't a lot of moves. Today we're going to take a look at the squad. Maybe play a game. We'll see how long the squad look goes. And George is begging to go outside, so I'm going to do that, and we'll be back in just a second. This is the 11 p.m. coffee clutch here in the Midwest, and George is happily participating. So about the new skin for FM21, I really like some of the UI changes they made. There's some UI changes and UX changes that I'm not a huge fan of. One of the things I'm hopeful for is that the talented people who come up with the various skins will do their usual good job and come up with some really stunning stuff. I do know there have been enough changes from last year to this year that, like, it used to be you could take an older skin and go in and modify a couple of lines and bring it into FM20. Like you could take an FM19 skin and modify a couple of lines and bring it to FM20 with little to no problems. And if the skin itself was a very good base skin, you would have little to no problems, depending on what they added and adjusted. But the UX changes and everything like that they made to this means you're not going to be able to do that. I do like that they went to a darker purple. This is infinitely a lot better, at least for me, than the lighter purple they've had. So, but I prefer a darker skin anyways. I do like a lot of changes they've made to some of the screens and so on and so forth. But and I'll talk about that throughout the save. So, staff-wise, I haven't made a lot of changes simply because we're in the third Bundesliga and I really don't want to pay for a lot of changes. We're not maxed out on coaches. I do have a chief scout. I got a couple scouts coming in. One of the changes I do like is that you have to have an analyst in order to do match reviews. Now that could get interesting, especially if you're doing a lower league save. You may not be able to afford one or even have room for one on your squad. So that could make training in that interesting. Training is still pretty straightforward. The medical center, also pretty straightforward. Schedule, nothing's changed there. Competition outlook, nothing's changed there. This is where we stand now. We're in first place after 3 games. We're tied with Ingolstadt. Scouting-wise, nothing's really changed there. There is one of the things that have changed is you can do short-term scouting where it's part of your scouting needs. The club comes to you and says, here's the 3 positions we think we need. And it'll give you a list of players or a list of options. And you say, okay, spend the next month looking for players that fit this. Club info, that hasn't changed much. We're an established club, founded in 1900, professional, 3-star national reputation, okay finances. We looked at division, we looked at the finances. The development center, we've got some very good youth players that have potential. And we'll take a look at those guys here in just a minute. So... you know what? And we'll do that right now. Squad-wise, let me get everybody in here. And we will sort by... What are we going to sort by? Well, you know what? We'll sort by the players I have in position already. Now, I'm 3 games into the season. I also played most of the preseason games. This is a solid squad for the 3rd Bundesliga. And it's probably a solid squad for the 2nd Bundesliga. One of the things I wanted to look at, and I got to remember where it is. 3rd Liga overview, season preview. We are picked to finish 2nd. Dynamo Dresden has been picked to finish 1st. So we've got our work cut out for us. What I am worried about is the squad. This squad strikes me as being good enough to win 3rd Bundesliga and not being good enough to stay in the 2nd Bundesliga. There's a decent amount of potential here. These are all solid players. The problem is, at least from my point of view, is that there's no one spectacular that stands out. And honestly, if there was someone spectacular that stood out, chances are we wouldn't be able to keep them on the squad anyways. But a lot of our players are like Abdel Spahik. He's solid, but not spectacular. Why is he not coming up? Change to that. So, again, solid, not spectacular. Same with, you got players like Dominic Shaw, Tim Reeder. Kevin Krause is probably the best player on the team from an attributes point of view. 4-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. Defensive center back. He also has a slight injury issue. He's not the best in terms of physical attributes where, speed and that matters. But he's a very good marker. He's a very good tackler. He's very good mentally for this level of football. The other nice thing is we don't have a lot of outstanding salaries. I believe our highest paid player is Marlon Ritter, who is an inverted winger. Go back here and do this again. The one issue I do have is we do have quite a few older players. I tend to run younger squads, and that's because in previous saves, the club kind of demanded we use youth players. Kaiserslautern wants us to develop youth players through their system, which is eminently doable. Not a lot of recognizable names on here, at least for me. The one that I recognized right off the bat was Andre Heinold, who's a 34-year-old Canadian, but that's only because he's on the Canadian national squad. Adam Husek, Marvin Puri, and Daniel Hasek are all lone players we brought in. As you can see over here, these are kind of the attributes I look for in a player, and they're pretty good. Blue for me is good, orange is average, red is bad, and then green is very good. So, one of the things I do like about this, and those of you who followed me here from my high-end save, we've got a B squad with real coaches. I about fell out of my chair. I should have known that coming in, but still, just after 16 years in Spain with a B squad that I couldn't do anything with, that was nice to see. So we do have some good youth players, at least potential-wise. Marco Weisborn, it's probably Wiesenborn. He's a 15-year-old defensive right back, winger, so on and so forth. He's really good physically already. He's improving there. Mentally, he's got a lot of work to do, especially in determination. I'm a huge fan of determination. If you give me an average player with good determination, I will take him over an above average player with bad determination. It's just been my experience, limited though it is, that determination is huge when it comes to players playing the game. Now, he's got 5-star potential. He's only 15 years old. We've only been here 2 months, and that's the training we've had for him. I haven't been in charge of training. The youth coaches take care of the youth players, but since I've been here, he's done nothing but improve. What I need to do is get him into a mentor group to get that determination up. Tom Galt, 19-year-old defensive center back. He is probably the one player who's closest to becoming a full-time starter. 2-star current ability, 4.5-star potential ability. Physically, he's solid. Mentally, he's good where it counts for the position. Heading, marking, tackling are all solid. Everything else is really kind of blah, but beggars can't be choosers here. He's 19 years old. He'll get better. How much better remains to be seen. This is probably one of those cases where he's 4.5-star potential ability at 3 Liga, which probably means he's 3.5-star potential ability at 2 Liga. Bastian Fürstein, 16-year-old defensive center back from Macedonia. Midfielder, but they got him down as defensive center back. Again, one of those players with potential. It's just a matter of, are we going to be able to get these guys to fulfill it? As you can see, we've got a lot of quality players, at least for this level of football. The other two, there's a couple players I would consider playing on the first team. Tom Gall, definitely. Dominik Kajinik, definitely. Bangura, possibly. As a poacher, he's not bad. I would start him if I was, in a lower league. If this was regional football, he would probably be a starter, especially if I knew I had to move one of my other strikers out. He'd be a guy you could build around for a couple of years. He'd be solid but not spectacular. I'm saying that a lot, I realize that, but that's essentially what he is. I didn't highlight the strikers we had. Let me go back there and do that real quick. Lukas Spalvis is a Lithuanian international who is solid, not spectacular. Good grief, I sound like a broken record. Physically, he's okay. Mentally, he's okay. Technically, he's okay. He's not weak in any area except marking, and he's a freaking striker, so you would expect him to be weak at marking. He doesn't stand out either. For the poacher role, his attributes are nice. They could be a lot better, but for this level of football, they're pretty good. Let's see here. Marvin Pure is a lone player, 29 years old, pressing forward, 3.5-star current ability, 3.5-star potential ability. Again, good where it counts. Physically good, mentally good, technically good where it counts. And then our primary backup is Luke Rosser, a 26-year-old striker. Again, physically, nothing stands out, but nothing's bad. Same thing mentally. Technically, okay, he's not the best long thrower, but his finishing and first touch are okay. His penalty taking's nice. And then I thought I had one more. Probably Elias Huth, who is a winger, but who can also play striker. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. He got injured early on. You know what? We'll take a look at that here. We'll take a look at the transfers here real quick. We were not all that active. Brought in a bunch of players on the Viking Dan Throw 'em in the Van youth movement plan, and we picked up a couple. I'm not going to go through them now just because, frankly, I don't know that it would be worth it. We sold Lennart Grill to Bayern. Bayer Leverkusen rather. He was an okay keeper for us, but he wasn't as good as Spavo, and I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm almost positive it's Spahic. No, it's Spavo. It's Avdo Spahic names. And this East European journeyman I'm going to do is going to be even funner when it comes to name pronunciation. He was good, but not great. Yeah, I realize I'm saying that a lot. Bayer needed a backup keeper, and they offered us €2 million for him, and I said yes, definitely. Phineas Boniaga is at Worms on loan, and they're paying us a fee for that. And then Anil Aiden, who is one of our youth players with a lot of potential. He's a very good midfielder. 20 years old. He's out on loan as well. I wasn't as active on this first transfer market as I would have liked, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that I just really haven't spent a lot of time on the save. Work has been busier than heck. So, and it's only going to get busier at the turn of the year too. So that's a good thing, actually. I'm not complaining about that in the least. So schedule-wise, we've gotten off to a really good start. We lost to Newcastle in a friendly, but they're a Premier League squad, and we gave them a run for their money. We got back against TSG Kaiserslautern, who are a regional club, but they're one of our rivals as well. And Eder Oberstein, I believe, is a friendly. Let me check something out here real quick. Club info. Affiliates. Yeah, TSG Kaiserslautern is an affiliate. Eder Oberstein is an affiliate. This is one of those things I'll probably look at. Probably when we get to the 2 Bundesliga, that's when I'll look at our affiliates and probably go through and get rid of some and see if I can't add a couple others. So, other than that, schedule-wise, where were we? We got off to a really good start. We beat SVS Sandhausen. They're in Bundesliga 2. 3-0 in the Pokal first round. When we beat Dynamo Dresden 3-0, we beat Turkuzu. Umlauts are going to be the death of me, amongst other things. 2-0, and then we beat Wiesbaden 2-1. So today, you know what? We're going to skip that. We're going to come back literally maybe 10 minutes from now and do a back-to-back with Mannheim and Bayern, and then we'll go forward from there. Am I missing anything? Injuries. Medical center. Current injuries. So Jonas Wyand, who is a young keeper he's the keeper of the future. If he wasn't injured, I would be playing him a little bit more. He's got 4.5-star potential, and in some areas he's already better than Spahik. And then Elias Huth, who we looked at, damaged his spine. Went up for a header in practice, came down and landed awkwardly and damaged his spine. So he's out 3 to 4 months. I don't know that he'll be playing back on the team again. Transfer window wise, I know I signed a couple of players. And for some reason, they aren't showing up. One of them I know for sure is Kenny Prince Redondo, who I brought in on trial and signed him because he's a versatile player. He can play all 4 of the wing midfield positions fairly well. 3.5-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. He's fast. He's pacey. He's got decent aggression. Okay determination. His off the ball is decent. Crossing, dribbling, first touch, passing, all decent. Nice work rate. And he's done a decent job for us so far. He's had 1 goal in the Pokal. For the moment, we're currently in first place, tied with Ingolstadt. Elias Huth leads us with 3 goals, and then he went out injured in practice. Winkler leads us with a 7.6 rating. Hikmet Sifsi, he's a midfielder. He leads us with 3 assists. Sickinger is a defensive midfielder. Best pass completion, 93%. And I've had a lot of players win Player of the Match awards. In our 3 matches played, our 7 goals scored are best in the league. Our 1 goal allowed is the best in the league. It should be. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. And our attendance, the stadium's about half full. So the tactic we're playing, this fits the squad best. It's a 4-2-4. I looked at a 4-3-3, but I have better wingers than I do midfielders. I looked at playing 2 midfielders, but I don't have very good midfielders. But Bachmann and Sickinger are both really good defensive midfielders. So this kind of leaves us a gap here. But Hlusek is a very good wingback. 4-star current ability, 4-star potential ability. I put him on automatic. He can come up and kind of cover in this area here. So this really isn't a weakness. Only problem with Hlusek is he's 31 years old. And frankly, he's just on the downward swing of a very nice career. But he's been solid for us so far. 2 assists in the Pokal game, which was very, very nice. So we've got decent depth. The issue, as I mentioned before, is just we're kind of a bland squad. No one really stands out, unless one of the youth players steps up. But we're a good enough squad with good enough depth that a top half finish is definitely doable. They want us to finish top 3, which I think is definitely doable, especially because we've already beaten a couple of the good teams right off the start. So I think we're well on our way. If we don't get promoted this season, I would be really, really surprised. But that's where we stand. I do have some merch coming from the FC Kaiserslautern fan club. The first time I tried ordering it, I clicked on the wrong thing, and they wanted me to transfer them money directly. And I said, okay, sure, not a problem. And I called my bank up and was like, yeah, I need to make a wireless transfer. And I gave them the information, and they said, oh, that'll be $60. And I'm like, no, it's $180 for the merch I ordered. It's like, no, it's a $60 fee. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I called and canceled the order. Very nice customer service, great customer service. Absolutely fabulous. I am really looking forward to this save. The only thing that I am kind of miffed about is I'm trying to do more in terms of how I present the episodes. I've had the same setup for a while now in terms of OBS. Here's my background. Here's this. Here's where the cameras are. I watched a couple videos online. One of the things I set up was on OBS, you go and you set your canvas to, 3840, 1920 by, 3840 by 2060. And then you could set up each quadrant as a 1920 by 1080 quadrant. The problem is Resolve, which is the editing program I use, has a hard time. You can't just crop out an area and render that cropped out area. You have to actually set your canvas in Resolve smaller and then crop and transform and crop. And that isn't an issue. The issue is I've got a basic webcam. It's a good webcam. It does a great job, but it's not a 4K webcam. And if you're going to record in 4K, you need 4K. I had a couple test episodes where the gameplay looked really good. On the other hand, and the big version of me looked absolutely horrible. And even at this size, where we are now, I'll admit, isn't the best. I'm still thinking I could do something here in terms of advertising. That remains to be seen. But, imagine this as the whole screen as a 1920 by 1080. It was just, my daughter walked by and was like, holy cow. And literally, I don't think that was 14-year-old being 14. I think it was just an honest reaction. But anyhow, wow, that's a rabbit hole. We really went down there. Anyhow, we're going to call this an episode here. I am going to link down. It's a really good video. It's maybe about 12 minutes long. Details what went wrong at Kaiserslautern. It wasn't any one thing they did. It was a series of small events that just snowballed into each other, ripples in a lake, and when it reached the shoreline, it wasn't exactly a tsunami, but it kicked them back. But I've had experience with clubs like this. Bastia, Milan to an extent, but Hayen was a 5th division club, but we brought them up. Enfield Town, my very first save, was a 6th division club. No, a 5th division club. We brought them up. So this isn't exactly a road to glory save. Maybe a road to respectability. And I'm okay with that. So FC Kaiserslautern is known as the Rote Teufel, the Red Devils. And so that's the name of the save. It's Rise of the Red Devils. We're going to get them back to respectability. So, and I look forward to this. And I hope you do too. If you did like what you've seen and heard, please leave a like. Subscribe to the channel for more content, questions, criticisms, comments. Leave those down below. I'll answer those as fast as I can. My name is FM Jellico. I thank you for